to TikTok, and they've got a different voice across different platforms, which provides inconsistency. There's no clear stance, there's no clear core values, there's no congruence, there's no consistent theme, no consistent energy, right? And that is so important, right? You need to think about your story and provide one dominant theme. You see, most people's issue is they don't just pick one lane. They're trying to play every lane. You can't play in every game. You can't play in every league. You need to pick one league and focus on one game. And I'm going to tell you exactly how to do that right now. So you're going to ask yourself 3 questions, all right? Question number 1 is, what am I selling? I want you to imagine you can only sell 5 products for the lifespan of your brand, the entire life of your brand. What would those 5 products be? Now you know what products you're going to sell. The second question is, who am I selling to? What does my ideal customer profile look like? What are their interests? What do they like? What do they don't like? Where do they live? Where are they from? You need to identify your ideal customer profile so that you know who you're selling to. You know the marketing angles you need to take. You know what kind of products you need to make to appeal to these people. And this third question, this one's the hardest, right? This is the one that gets most people, that took me a little bit longer to answer for myself. And this third question is, why are people going to buy from your brand instead of my brand, or instead of Supreme, or instead of Vicinity, or Ditch, or Cynical, or any of these other streetwear brands that you see on Instagram, TikTok, the internet, whatever? Why are they going to buy from you? What makes you so special? What sets you apart from these other brands and provides your customer with an incentive to buy from you because they can't get that thing from other brands? That's what you need to find right there. The answers to those 3 questions will give you a pretty good starting point to start developing your brand's identity and providing some distinction to an already oversaturated market that's providing a shit ton of brands that are all copycats to one another, right? And the answers to those 3 questions will give you a pretty good idea of how you're going to do it. I want to share a few brands with you guys that do this really well so you can kind of get the idea a little bit better. First, we'll look at Represent. This brand started in a family shed and was built into this luxury powerhouse over the years. They've kind of built their brand around this ideology that is essentially just doing today what others won't, so tomorrow you can do what others can, right? Every collection shows an evolution from streetwear to high-end craftsmanship. You see just this luxurious progression, right? It's this perfect blend of British heritage and modern luxury. It speaks to ambitious entrepreneurs and creators pushing boundaries. It's really just such a cohesive, forward-thinking, ambitious, luxurious brand, right? There's cohesiveness in every step that they take and everything that they drop. It all traces back to this brand identity. But look at another brand, Bloody Sunday. This brand's built on the idea that clothing shouldn't really represent rebellion. It speaks directly to outcasts and free thinkers, and it doesn't just promote clothing, right? It promotes everything his brands stand for: skateboarding, creativity, things like that. And looking at their brand, you can really just see this cohesiveness through the colors that they use. That's one of the major points that they use to provide such a consistent output when making decisions for their brands: dropping clothes, dropping ad creatives, releasing new products, building a website, right? It all traces back to this brand identity and the core values and things that set them apart from other brands. This is really, really, really important. And you know what? In addition to those 3 questions I asked you earlier, I'm going to ask you 3 more questions that will continue to help you identify your angle, your brand's identity, right? The first question is, what excites you the most about creating your brand? Second question is, what unique perspective or story can you present with your brand that no one else can? And the third question you need to ask yourself that'll help you a ton is by looking at the world and identifying a people group or audience that gets overlooked, that doesn't really have something for them, and then asking yourself, how can I create something for those people, for the people that don't really have something yet? So next, I want to get into design. The design is essentially going to be the outward display of your brand. So a common question that I get is, how do you find inspiration for your designs, right? So to answer this quickly, you find inspiration for your designs by referencing designs that have been previously done, right? You guys have all heard Virgil Abloh talk about the 3% rule, right? That's taking a prior concept with proof of concept that's appreciated by an audience, changing it by 3%, and making it into something new to provide to the world. So to get inspiration, you're going to look on apps like Pinterest. Another good app is Arena. Arena is what I use to source more matured concepts. But you can also find cool shit on Instagram, Google, TikTok. There's tons of places to look for inspiration. You can take inspiration from graffiti art. You can take inspiration from other clothing brands. There's a million places to source inspiration, so that should be the least of your worries. Now, another common question that I get is, how do you actually make the designs, right? And there's a few softwares that I'd recommend to you guys to start out, unless you'd like to hire somebody else to do it. The first software is going to be Procreate. It's what I use to create create designs on my iPad, and it's what most designers use to create mock-ups, to create cool designs, to sketch, to draw, things like that. If you're looking to develop more in-depth designs, you're going to want to use Adobe Illustrator or Adobe Photoshop. Those two softwares are really good. I learned Adobe Illustrator my first really month into creating a clothing brand. It takes a little bit longer to learn, but you can make some really cool stuff with it. So next, when you're thinking about design, you need to clearly identify what you think your target audience wants to wear. And if you want to know what they want to wear, just go to the most revered members of that community and then just see what they're wearing. So are they wearing jackets? Are they wearing denim? Are they wearing t-shirts? Are they wearing tank tops? What are they wearing? Figure out what they're wearing and make that shit. And the next thing you should need to do is make sure that all your designs tie into your brand's message, your brand's identity, your brand's whole ethos. And a good way to do this is just by collecting a bunch of visual references, right? Building out a Pinterest board of like 100 images, all images that kind of like represent the energy that your brand emits as a whole, right? That's pretty easy. You just look to that, you're like, hey, I need to make stuff kind of like that, and you design. That's all you need to do. Now, if you're like me and you're not super talented with technology and you also don't have a ton of time, what you can do is hire a designer. I love hiring designers because most of the time they can do it better than me, and I just pay them a little bit of money. They make the design for me. It's awesome. I'm pleased with it, and then I post the design, I get it made, and then I sell it, and then I make my money back. And if you're looking for a good designer for your clothing brand, just go on Instagram or TikTok, type in STD for studio, or just type in clothing brand designers and you'll see a bunch pop up. You can also just find one, look at the account suggested underneath them, check out the portfolio of each, and then just send them a message. Say, hey, I want designs made. What can you
Having to make a decision about closing a 44-year-old business that your mother started, that was the hardest thing. I'm the owner of Westside Kids in New York City. My mother founded this toy store. When the tariffs hit, it was really scary. Tariffs on toys from China went up to 145%. I don't know what to do. I can't sell anything. This was the last straw. And we just closed in July this year. Having to make a decision about closing a 44-year-old business that your mother started, that was the hardest thing.
What can you do for me? Now, once you've got your identity and your design strategy locked in, now you're ready to bring this shit to life through the creation of your products. And this is where most people completely fuck up. And real quick, I'm gonna just go ahead and kill the biggest myth in the clothing brand industry right now, alright? You don't need to fly to other countries or spend thousands of dollars on samples from different manufacturers to find a good manufacturer. So I'm going to tell you right now exactly how to find a manufacturer. First step, you're going to go to Alibaba.com. Everybody knows about this site, but nobody knows what to do once they get on the site. So once you're on the site, I want you to think about an item that you want to get made. You're going to go to the search bar, you're going to type in that item, let's say it's a zip hoodie. You're going to go to the filters on the side, you're going to tap trade assurance and then verified supplier, and then you're going to look and you're going to browse through manufacturers. You're going to find 5 that you think maybe have the potential that also say verified supplier underneath, and then you're going to send them a message. And this is how you're going to determine whether or not they are a good manufacturer and whether or not they're the right manufacturer for you specifically. So first thing you're going to say is, hey, I want to get 200 pieces of X made. Can you show me some previous work that you've done kind of like this? And then you're going to send your mock-up. And that's just a picture of what you want to get made. So they're going to see that, and they're going to send you previous work that they've done similarly. And this is how you're going to gauge whether or not they can achieve the level of quality that you're going to require from your work. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but if it's good, this is what you're going to say next. You're going to ask them what their sample and bulk lead times would be for this item. And essentially, that is just how long is it going to take from me paying you for you to make the item and then ship it to me. And then once they say this, you're going to go and say that to 5 more manufacturers, and then you're going to pick the manufacturer that has the best lead time, the best previous work in comparison to what you want to get made, and the best communication based on how the conversation went. And that's how you're going to figure out whether or not they're a good manufacturer, and from there there you can kind of ask for your bulk price, your purchase order, things like that, so that you know pricing and can compare pricing between manufacturers that can produce something good. Now you have a good manufacturer, that's exactly how to do it. Just follow that script and you're gonna be good. And another question that you're gonna need to ask after vetting whether or not they're a good manufacturer or not is what their minimum order quantity is. Some manufacturers will have a 200-piece minimum order quantity. Some will have a 50-piece minimum order quantity. You want the one with the MOQ that's lower, because you don't want to buy 200 pieces for your first drop if you don't think you can sell 200 pieces. You want to buy 50 pieces because you know you can sell that, and then buy more in the future, right? So you're going to want to gauge what their MOQ is. That way you know, like, okay, I can't work with this one because they only work with clients that are going to purchase 200 pieces or more. I can with this one though because their MOQ is only 50. So just find one with an MOQ of 50 and you'll be good. Another thing I'll mention in regards to manufacturers is you're going to want to make sure that you're building a relationship with this manufacturer. The manufacturers that I work with, I get on the phone with them 2, 3, 4 times a week. We talk like we're friends, like we're business partners, because that's what you are. Your supplier is your business partner and you need to treat them as such. Treat them with respect. They're your business partner and they're a required piece to build your brand. Now, a lot of you probably have questions regarding tech packs, right? You've heard this word thrown around, tech pack, call sheet, whatever you want to call it. It is essentially the reference that your manufacturer will look at when determining how to create the garment that you want made. This is going to include a mock-up, a size chart, and any indicators of what you want done to the garment, whether it's a wash or a specific type of hardware or a specific type of stitching or a specific type of paneling, whatever that may be. You're going to need to create a tech pack to indicate these specifics. And creating a tech pack is easy. Like I said, you just need the mock-up, the size chart, yada yada yada. But the biggest thing I want to tell you guys is do not overcomplicate it. That's the biggest lesson I've learned with tech packs. My first tech pack was 15 pages long. It was every single tiny little detail mapped out in the tech pack. And the biggest thing that I've learned is that giving a manufacturer too much to look at and too many details causes more margin for error on their end. So just keep it simple for them. They don't need a 10-page blueprint on how to create a damn t-shirt. They need a call sheet, 1 page, 2 pages, 3 pages max, and that's it. So don't overdo it. Don't overthink it. Don't spend 2, 3, 4 weeks on your tech pack. Make it in 1 or 2 days. Send it to them. Ask if they have clarity on it. If they do, then you're good. All right, so now that we've covered brand identity, we've covered design, we've talked about manufacturers, we've talked about how to make your tech packs. There's one thing you need to know. Making great products doesn't mean shit if you can't present them properly and market them correctly. So let's talk about building a brand presence that actually works, that actually sells clothes. We'll talk first about your website. Your website has one job, and that is to convert visitors to customers. Everything else is just noise. Your website should do one thing: get people to buy your clothes. That's it. So where are you going to get your website made? Where are you going to have it set up? Shopify. That's it. Don't think about other providers. Don't think about other platforms. Shopify is the easiest. It's the simplest to set up. It has the best payment processor. Do not go and try to build this custom coded fucking Squarespace, yada yada yada. Just stick with Shopify. It's going to save you a ton of time, effort, confusion, and troubleshooting in the future. All right, initial setup. Let's run it down real quick. First, you're going to need a website domain, right? You're going to get this through GoDaddy. There's other places to get it, but I like GoDaddy because it's simple. Next, you're going to connect that to your Shopify store. This is pretty simple. If you want, just go watch another YouTube video on it. I'm not going to spend time talking about semantics right now. We're trying to get your brand built, trying to get it set up. So that's what we're going to focus on. So in terms of website design, you're going to want to focus on what it looks like on mobile. Everybody uses their phone. Nobody goes on their computer looking for clothes, right? That's just not what people do. So focus on the mobile design first. And the biggest thing to focus on here when creating your website is just making everything as easily navigatable as humanly possible. You want to make it as easy as possible to bring your customer from landing page to checkout, because the faster we can do that, the more likely they are to purchase from your brand, the more likely they are to visit the site and then convert into a customer. So essentially just make it as easy as possible for your customer to buy your product. Don't hide it. Create just big buttons, big CTAs. Product is right there, not all this crazy shit, animations, all that. That's all bullshit. Okay, that's just preventing your customer from getting to the product. We call this friction in business. You want a website with as little friction as humanly possible, because friction is what stands between a customer and buying your product. We don't want that. So cut the bullshit, make it simple and easy. Another thing to keep in mind is creating product pages that convert. You need high quality product photos, very important. You need clear info on sizing and materials used to make the garment, so size charts, descriptions, that kind of thing. You want to spice up your product descriptions. You can use something like Claude or ChatGPT to help you do this better. And it's really good if you can have reviews on your website or other trust signals just to tell your audience like, hey, this guy's valid. People have had a good experience prior to myself. I trust this guy. And this right here, this is probably the most important thing in regards to your website that you need to take from this video. You need your website to be able to capture their email or their phone number so that you can contact them and use that to market. So what you want to do is you want to set up an email or SMS opt-in form that pops up on the website. And you can do this by incentivizing a 10% off discount if they enter in their phone or email, or like a bundle discount or something like that. It's like a little pop-up thing that allows the customer to go in and enter their email and give that to you. That's their opt-in. But the most important thing here is that you just want to collect their phone number or their email, right? I'll cover why this is important later on in the video. So a couple things to avoid here when creating your website. You want to avoid poor navigation. You want to make it as simple as possible to get from point A to point B. Point A being seeing your product, point B being checking out with your product on the cart. Another thing to avoid is optimizing your site to look good on desktop, and they wonder why their conversion rate's so low and their phone view looks like shit. Another thing you want to do is avoid excessive storytelling or marketing on your website. Again, the marketing comes before they get on the website. The website just makes it easy for them to get the product. That should be the goal of your website. Don't worry about all this fancy design bullshit. Just a bunch of distractions and friction for your customer, and you don't want that. I know because I've experimented with both, and I know damn well that less distractions equals more conversions. Another thing you're going to want to add is a return policy. This is easy. Just go on the internet, say, hey, I want to make a return policy, make this for me, and it'll make it for you. All right, ChatGPT, AI, it's pretty crazy. All right, so now that we've got the actual foundation built, let's talk about what most brands get wrong, and that's going to be the pricing. So you need to price for actual profit, but realistic profit. See, most brands either price too low and they can't scale, or they price too high and they can't sell. And both of those prevent brands from really even getting off the ground. So first you need to break down your total costs. That's going to be your base manufacturing cost, your shipping cost from the manufacturer to you, the cost of packaging. If you do custom packaging, it'll be more expensive, thermal labels, things like that. Then any extra items that you throw in, stickers, keychains, stuff like that. And then the sample costs. And that's all product costs. You now need to think about operations costs, all right? So that's going to include shipping to the customer, payment processing fees, which that's like 2%, not even really something to think too much about. Marketing costs, which could be like 20 to 30% of your revenue. Who really knows? It's different for every person. And then returns or refunds. You can plan for like 5% for that. Sometimes you need it, sometimes you don't. Who knows? So your profit margins need to be about 70%. Remember this. So if you buy a shirt for $10, you're going to sell it for at least 3 times that amount to make enough to cover your expenses and also take profit. And then for more premium products, you're going to want to push that to like 80%. So for example, if it costs you $15 to make, then you should sell it for like 75. And what those higher margins are going to do for those higher tier products is allow more room for marketing, because it's going to take more marketing to sell the product. So you need more room in your margins. Now, as a beginner, your profit margins should probably be more low, right? Because your priority shouldn't be taking profits. It should be reinvesting and building the business, right? And the best way to do that is by investing a lot of what you have, a lot of what you make back into the business, and also incentivizing your customers to buy with a low price point. Because sometimes that's how you'll compete with other brands. You'll just sell what they're selling for a lower price. And then later on, you can bump up your margins once you build a community. I'll cover that later on in this video. Now, the way that you're going to come up with all of this pricing is by doing a little bit of what we call market research. So you're going to run a competitor analysis, which is studying other brands, and then you're going to conduct customer research. So you're going to find 5 direct competitors, and then you're going to track their price points for items similar to yours that you're trying to sell. You'll also take note of their quality so that you can gauge how much the price points reflect what they actually should be. Now, when it comes to customer research, you're going to essentially want to survey your audience to figure out what they're comfortable paying for X item, right? You can ask your friends, your family, your homies, people on the internet, people on Reddit, and just get a gauge on what they'd feel comfortable paying for the item that you want to sell. Another productive measure would be going to similar brands and looking in their comment sections to see kind of how the customers feel about the prices that they're offering. Sometimes the customers will be like, oh, well, that's way too high for that. I'm not paying for that. And that's indicative of a price point being a little bit maybe too high for an item they're trying to sell. Now, why are we thinking about all this shit? It's because your numbers are important. Your profit margins are important, because without profit, you cannot grow a business, right? If you want to grow a business, you need to be making money, not just doing favors for people, because favors don't build empires.
Hey everybody, Walton Goggins here. Starting a business is never easy, but with GoDaddy Aero, that endeavor is about to become a whole lot easier.
Hey man, you got this.
Create a website that looks like you know what you're doing, even if you don't know what you're doing, because you're using a website that developed a tool that knows exactly what it's doing. It helps you design a logo. This is what